Today, we're going to dive into the incredible story of a figure whose courage has, well, it's echoed through centuries. We're talking about Saint Pedro Calungsod. It's this amazing tale of faith, of sacrifice, and a legacy that all started with a teenager on a mission. So far from home, a journey that would change everything.
So you might be wondering, who is the Philippines teenage saint? I mean, you've probably heard the name, but his actual story? It's one of the most powerful in the country's history. We know he's this huge symbol, but the real question is, how did he get there? What's the story behind the name?
All right, to get that answer, we've got to go way back, all the way to the 17th century. Let's break down exactly who Pedro Calungsod was and the path he ended up choosing.
Okay, now this is what gets me every time. His age. You know, he wasn't some seasoned priest or a wise old elder. He was a teenager, and that fact is so central to his story. It just makes his commitment and what happened in the end that much more powerful. He was just a young man driven by this incredible conviction.
You can really see his life in these four key roles. He started out as a catechist, basically a teacher of faith. That job led him to become a missionary. And that path ultimately led to him becoming a martyr. And then centuries later, he was officially recognized as a saint. We're going to walk through each one of these steps.
So how in the world does a Filipino teenager end up on a mission on a remote island like Guam? This whole journey is what sets the stage for the dramatic, life-changing events that would define his legacy, and it really all starts with the specific job he had.
And before we get any further, we got to get this term straight. Catechist. See, a catechist isn't an ordained priest. They're a layperson, someone from the community who's dedicated to teaching the core principles of their faith. And that, right there, was Pedro Calungsod's job.
Now, he wasn't out there alone, not at all. He was serving right alongside a Spanish Jesuit missionary named Diego Luis de San Vitores. So you have San Vitores, the experienced leader of the mission, and then you have Calungsod, the young Filipino catechist, who was his essential assistant and guide. They were a team, both pushing toward the same goal.
Their whole mission was to live within the local Chamorro community and teach the Christian faith. This work, this catechizing, was everything to them, but it also put them right at the center of this huge cultural shift. And as you could imagine, that shift wasn't going to go unchallenged.
Yeah, so their work wasn't exactly welcomed by everyone. There was a local chieftain who got jealous of their influence, and he started spreading these awful rumors, basically saying that the baptismal water they used was poisoned. This lie started to turn people against them, and it really set the stage for the final tragic act of their lives. This is the moment where the story turns, and Pedro Calungsod goes from missionary to martyr.
And this is the key, right? When they were faced with this life-or-death danger, Calungsod could have run, but he didn't. He didn't abandon his mission, and he didn't abandon his friend. And that just says everything about his legacy. It's not just about his death, it's about the incredible courage and loyalty he showed in that final moment. He had a choice, and he chose to stay.
What's just mind-blowing is the amount of time between these events. I mean, think about it. He was martyred on April 2nd, 1672, but his official canonization, when he was named a saint, that didn't happen until October 21st, 2012. That's almost 350 years later. It just goes to show you how these stories of faith can survive for centuries, passed down and down long before any official recognition happens. And so his feast day is now celebrated on October 21st, marking that modern-day acknowledgement. So why does a story from the 17th century still matter so much? Because Calungsod's legacy isn't just some dusty old historical fact. It is very much alive and well today, especially in the Philippines and for young people of faith all over the world.
And this number, 2, this is a huge deal, a point of immense national pride. When he was canonized, Pedro Calungsod became only the second Filipino in all of history to be officially named a saint. That right there cemented his place as this absolutely pivotal figure of faith for an entire nation. So today, his legacy is everywhere. He's the official patron saint of the Filipino youth, which makes perfect sense given how young he was. He's become this powerful symbol of what it means to have courage in your faith. He's a model for young missionaries and just a massive inspiration for lay catechists, people doing the exact same work he did.
And that kind of leaves us with one last thing to think about. The story of Pedro Calungsod is all about this unshakable belief, even when facing the absolute worst. So when you think about his life, it really makes you ask yourself, right? In our world, with all of its different challenges, what does courage for what you believe in actually look like today?